The coffee in Captain Taemin Kang's hand shook as another tremor ran through his cybernetic arm. He cursed under his breath and set the cup down before it spilled across the security console. 3 years since the Battle of Crimson Nebula, and his body still refused to cooperate. The military doctors said the implants were functioning properly. They said the shaking was all in his head. Maybe they were right. Maybe everything was in his head now. Outpost Kepler 7 hung in the darkness like a forgotten tombstone. Once, it had been an important waypoint for the Terran Coalition's fleet. Now it was a dumping ground for broken soldiers and broken equipment. Taemin fit right in. He stared at the monitors showing empty corridors and silent docking bays. Nothing ever happened here. That was the point. Kang, report to Bay 3. Commander Yong-Soo Park's voice crackled through the comm system. The old man sounded irritated, which meant it was a day ending in Y. We've got a prisoner transfer coming in. Taemin pulled himself up from his chair, his bad leg protesting. More metal than flesh now. He wondered sometimes if there was enough of the real him left to matter. The walk to Bay 3 took 10 minutes through gray corridors that all looked the same. He'd been here 8 months and still got lost sometimes. The transport ship was already docked when he arrived. It was an ugly military hauler, the kind they used for moving cargo that nobody cared about. 2 guards in black armor stood by the airlock, weapons ready. Between them was a cage. Inside the cage was something Taemin had only seen in propaganda videos. A Draken. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, covered in dark purple scales that caught the harsh station lights. Wings were folded tight against her back, bound with heavy chains. Her face was reptilian, but somehow expressive, with intelligent golden eyes that watched everything. The Draken were supposed to be monsters. The species that had started the Great Purge 500 years ago, trying to wipe out every other intelligent race in the galaxy. Looking at her now, Taemin mostly saw a prisoner. "Sign here," one of the guards said, shoving a datapad at him. "We're only stopping for fuel. She goes to the Council homeworld for execution in 3 days." Taemin signed without reading. Commander Park appeared beside him, arms crossed. "Put her in holding cell 2. Don't talk to her. Don't look at her if you can help it. Just watch the door and make sure she doesn't escape." "She's chained up in a cage," Taemin said. "Where's she going to go?" "Just follow orders, Captain." Park's voice dripped with contempt. He'd never forgiven Taemin for surviving when better soldiers had died. "Or have you forgotten how to do that?" The guards transferred the cage to a hover cart and left without ceremony. Taemin followed the cart to holding cell 2, deep in the station's secure section. The Draken never made a sound. They locked the cage inside the cell, and the guards left. Taemin took up position outside, a chair and a rifle for company. Hours passed. Taemin's mind drifted like it always did, back to Crimson Nebula. The screaming, the fire, his sister Bo-Ra's face in those last moments before the colony hab exploded. They said it was a structural failure. Bad luck. Taemin had stopped believing in bad luck. "You're in pain." The voice came from inside the cell. Taemin's hand went to his rifle before he remembered the orders. "Don't talk to her." He tried to ignore it. "Your arm," the Draken continued. She spoke perfect Korean, which shouldn't have been possible. "The cybernetics are rejecting your nervous system. That's why it shakes." Taemin stood and moved to the cell window. The Draken sat in her cage, still bound, looking at him with those gold eyes. "How do you know Korean?" he asked, then cursed himself for breaking orders. "I know many languages. I was a scholar before they destroyed my world." Her voice was soft, almost sad. "My name is Vex Thera. You can call me Vex. I'm not supposed to talk to you. Then don't. Just listen." Vex shifted in her chains, clearly uncomfortable. "I need to tell someone before they kill me. I discovered something in the ancient archives, something about your species. about what you really are. Taemin should have walked away, should have called Commander Park. Instead, he stayed. What are you talking about? The history you've been told is a lie. My people didn't start the Great Purge. We tried to stop it. Vex leaned forward as much as her chains allowed. The Galactic Council framed us because we learned the truth about... Alarms screamed through the station. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Taemin's combat instincts kicked in before his conscious mind could react. He grabbed his rifle and checked the security feed on his wrist display. 3 unidentified ships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel right next to the station. They weren't broadcasting identification codes. "This is Outpost Kepler 7. Commander Park's voice came over the station-wide channel. "Identify yourselves, or we will open fire." The response was weapons fire. The station shook as something exploded in the upper decks. Taemin heard screaming through the comm channels, then silence as sections lost atmosphere. He knew that sound. He'd heard it before, when his unit died. "They're here for me," Vex said quietly. "The Council wants me dead before I can talk." Another explosion, closer this time. Taemin made a decision he knew he'd regret. He pulled out his override key and unlocked the cell door. "Can you fly?" "Not with these chains." Taemin shot the locks off the cage and the chains binding her wings. Vex stretched her wings for the first time in who knows how long, nearly filling the corridor. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I'm tired of following orders that get people killed." Taemin headed for the emergency escape pods, Vex running behind him. Her claws clicked on the metal floor. They passed bodies in the corridors. Hye Jin Nam, the young communications officer who'd always smiled at him in the mess hall. She wasn't smiling now. Commander Park was dead too, half his body burned away. Taemin felt nothing. His emotions had died at Crimson Nebula. The escape pod bay was chaos. A fire blocked the main entrance, but there was a maintenance access. Taemin kicked it open and shoved Vex inside. "Get in the pod. I'll launch it." "Come with me," Vex said. "You can't stay here." "I'm already a dead man, have been for 3 years." But even as he said it, Taemin climbed into the pod with her. Maybe he was just tired of waiting to die. The pod launched as another explosion tore through the station. Through the viewport, Taemin watched Outpost Kepler 7 break apart in silent fury. Everyone he'd known for the past 8 months was dead. He should feel something about that. The pod's navigation system was damaged. They were drifting, power failing. Vex worked the controls with surprising skill, trying to get life support stable. They'd last maybe 48 hours, if they were lucky. "You said you learned something about humans?" Taemin said, staring at the debris field that used to be his home. "What was it?" Vex turned to face him, her golden eyes reflecting the emergency lights. She spoke 4 words that would change everything. "You were never natural. Your species was made, created by the precursors as weapons. The Council knows this. They've been keeping you weak because they're terrified of what you could become." Taemin laughed. It was a hollow, broken sound. Of course. Of course humanity was just another tool, another weapon. They'd been made to fight and die, and that's exactly what they did best. The pod's distress beacon activated automatically, its signal lost in the vast emptiness of space. 2 beings drifted in the darkness, one broken and one despised, carrying a secret that would shake the galaxy to its core, if they survived long enough to tell anyone. The crash was violent enough to crack 3 of Taemin's ribs. He tasted blood as the escape pod tore through the atmosphere of a planet that shouldn't exist. Vex had managed to aim them at a world before their navigation failed completely. "Any landing you walk away from," his old instructor used to say. Taemin crawled from the wreckage and collapsed on red sand. "Where are we?" he gasped, each breath sending pain through his chest. Vex pulled herself free, one wing bent at a bad angle. She looked around at the ruins surrounding them. Massive structures of black stone reached toward a purple sky. Architecture that was beautiful and alien and very, very old. Helios Prime, she said quietly. A precursor world, forbidden by council law. Great. Taemin coughed up more blood. So when they find us, they'll kill us twice. The ruins stretched for miles in every direction. Whatever civilization had built this place was long dead, but their works remained. Vex helped Taemin to his feet, and they stumbled toward the nearest structure. The pod's emergency supplies gave them water and basic medical supplies. Taemin wrapped his ribs and tried not to think about internal bleeding. They found shelter in what might have been a temple once. The walls were covered in symbols that seemed to shift when Taemin wasn't looking directly at them. Vex studied the markings with intense focus, her clawed fingers tracing patterns in the air. "Can you read that?" Taemin asked. "Some of it. The precursors used a universal language based on mathematics and physics. It's not words exactly, more like concepts." Vex pointed to a series of spirals. "This talks about creation, building life. They were genetic engineers on a scale we can barely imagine." Taemin sat down heavily, his leg aching. "Tell me what you found, in the archives, before they tried to kill you." Vex was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful, like she was handling something fragile. 2 years ago, I was working on translating precursor databases for the Council. Most of it was useless, records of ancient trade routes and star charts. But then I found something hidden, encrypted in a way that suggested it was deliberately concealed. What was it? A genetic registry. Species created by the precursors for specific purposes. Most of them failed or went extinct, but one succeeded beyond all expectations. Vex looked at him. "Humans. You weren't supposed to evolve on Earth. The precursors placed you there, modified from dozens of other species, built to solve problems that would destroy normal civilizations." Taemin's head spun, and not just from the concussion. "What kind of problems?" "War, extinction events, cosmic threats. The precursors built you to be adaptable, creative, and stubborn enough to survive anything. They encoded abilities into your DNA that would activate when needed. Enhanced healing, faster neural processing, resistance to telepathic control. Humans are weapons, but not the kind that destroys, the kind that protects." "That's insane." "Is it?" Vex gestured to him. "You survived injuries that would kill most species. Your mind handles trauma in ways that let you keep functioning. Humans take impossible situations and find solutions. That's not natural evolution. That's design." Taemin thought about Crimson Nebula, how he'd kept fighting after watching everyone die, how his body had held together through injuries that should have ended him. If this is true, why hide it? Why kill your people over it? Because the Council learned about it first. 500 years ago, the Veltrex Collective found the same archives I did. They realized humans would eventually surpass them, so they created a plan. They framed my people for the Great Purge, wiping out the Draken because we're scholars who archive everything. Then they began manipulating human history. Manipulating how? Vex pulled out a small data device from a hidden pocket. Somehow it had survived the crash. She activated it, and holograms filled the air between them. Images of human colonies, battle reports, incident records. Every major human disaster for the past 300 years. Your colony collapses, your wars, your economic crashes. The Council engineered all of it to keep humanity divided and weak. They study you while making sure you never reach your full potential. Taemin saw his sister's face in one of the reports. The collapse of her colony habitat. Declared an accident. But the hologram showed Council ships in the area, jamming rescue frequencies. Bo-Ra hadn't died because of bad luck. She'd been murdered. "They killed her," he whispered. "They killed all of them." "I'm sorry." Vex deactivated the display. "When I discovered this, I tried to report it through proper channels. That's when I learned the council leadership was part of it. They arrested me, declared me a terrorist, and ordered my execution. I would have died without ever telling anyone if you hadn't saved me. Taman stood up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Rage burned through him hot and bright. It was the first real emotion he'd felt since Crimson Nebula. We need to get this information out. Tell people. Who would believe us? A disgraced human soldier and a Draken prisoner? Then we find proof they can't ignore. Vex tilted her head, studying him. There might be a way. The archives mentioned a main facility on this planet. If we can access it, we could download complete records. Evidence even the council can't deny. They spent the rest of the day searching the ruins. Tae-Min's military training helped them navigate the maze of ancient buildings. Vex's knowledge of precursor technology let them avoid automated defenses that would have killed them. They worked well together, falling into an easy rhythm. By nightfall, they found it. A massive pyramid structure at the center of the ruins, still humming with power after thousands of years. The entrance was sealed, but Vex placed her claws on a control panel and the doors opened. The precursors had built this place to be accessed by anyone who made it this far. Inside was a library, not books, but data stored in crystalline structures that floated in the air. Holographic displays activated as they entered, showing star maps and genetic codes and historical records. Taemin saw humanity's entire history laid out like a blueprint. "Look at this!" Vex called out. She was standing before a display showing human DNA. "These sections here, they're dormant, locked away until specific conditions are met. Stress, danger, evolutionary pressure. The precursors built in safety measures so humans wouldn't develop too fast." "Can they be unlocked manually?" "Theoretically, yes, but it would be dangerous. The human body isn't ready for those changes all at once." Vex moved to another display. "This is incredible. Your species was meant to be the galaxy's defenders. When the precursors detected something coming, something that would threaten all life, they created you to stop it." "What threat?" Before Vex could answer, alarms shrieked through the facility. Taemin's combat instincts kicked in. "We've got company!" Through the pyramid's transparent walls, he saw ships descending through the atmosphere. Council enforcer vessels, heavily armed. They'd tracked the escape pod's trajectory. Taemin and Vex had minutes at best. "Can you download this data?" Taemin asked. Vex worked frantically at a control panel. "It's too much. Terabytes of information. I can get the essential files, but not everything." "Then get what proves your story. I'll slow them down." "Taemin, there are too many of them. I'm already dead, remember? Have been since Crimson Nebula. This just makes it official." He picked up a precursor weapon from a wall display. It hummed to life in his hands, recognizing human DNA. Of course it did. It was made for him. Vex grabbed his arm. "You're not dead. Not yet. And I don't want to lose the only friend I've had in 500 years. Friend. The word hit Taemin harder than expected. When was the last time someone called him that? He looked at this alien being, this despised creature the galaxy hunted, and realized she'd shown him more honesty and kindness than any human had in years. "Then download fast," he said, "because I'm getting us both out of here." The council enforcers breached the pyramid's lower levels. Taemin heard their boots on ancient stone. The precursor weapon felt right in his hands, like it belonged there. He moved into position, using skills he'd thought were buried with his old unit. The first enforcer squad came around the corner, and Taemin opened fire. The weapon shot coherent light that carved through armor like paper. His damaged cybernetic arm moved smoothly, the tremors gone. His wounded leg held steady. It was like his body remembered how to be whole. Maybe the precursors were already activating those dormant genes. Maybe combat was the trigger. He fought his way through 3 squads, buying time. Vex's voice came through his comm. "I've got it. But Taman, there's something else, a warning. Something the precursors detected moving toward the galaxy. It's why they created humans. Tell me later. Move to the north exit now. They ran through corridors as the pyramid's defenses activated, attacking council and refugees alike. A hover transport sat abandoned near the ruin's edge, left by enforcer scouts. Taemin hot-wired it while Vex covered their escape. Her wings spread wide, damaged but functional as she fired back at their pursuers. The transport lifted off as explosions rocked the pyramid behind them. They flew low over the desert, pursued by fighter craft. Taemin pushed the vehicle to its limits, weaving between ancient structures. His hands were steady. His mind was clear. For the first time in 3 years, he felt alive. There's a jump gate in orbit, Vex said, checking the nav computer. If we can reach it before they cut us off, we can escape to the outer systems. Where we'll do what? Find others who'll listen. Start a resistance. Save a galaxy that doesn't deserve saving. Vex looked at him, golden eyes bright. Your species was built to be heroes, Taemin. Maybe it's time you started acting like it. Taemin smiled. It felt strange on his face, like a muscle he'd forgotten how to use. Fine, but I get to complain the whole time. They blasted through the atmosphere with fighters on their tail, racing toward a future neither of them could predict, but both were willing to fight for. The resistance base was hidden inside a hollowed asteroid in the Terminus Belt, far from Council patrol routes. Taemin and Vex had spent 2 weeks running, jumping from one smuggler port to another, always one step ahead of hunters. The price on their heads was astronomical. Taemin was labeled a traitor, a terrorist who'd kidnapped a council prisoner. His face was on every news feed in the galaxy. He didn't care anymore. The lies had finally caught up with the liars. I don't trust this, Vex said as their stolen ship docked. Your resistance might kill me on sight. Probably, Taemin agreed. But we're out of options. The docking bay was crude but functional. Armed humans in mismatched armor surrounded them the moment the airlock opened. A woman stepped forward, plasma rifle aimed at Vex's head. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and scars crossing her face. I'm Kiwan Han, she said. I lead this cell. Give me one reason not to space the Draken right now. Because she saved my life, Taemin replied. And she has proof that everything you've been fighting against is worse than you imagined. Kiwan's eyes narrowed. Captain Kang, I've heard about you. War hero turned disgrace. What makes you think we want you here? I don't care if you want me. I care about stopping the Council from murdering millions more humans while we sleep. Taemin held up the data crystal Vex had downloaded. This contains proof that humanity was genetically engineered, that the Council has been manipulating our history, that every disaster we've suffered was planned. That's insane. Look at the data, then decide if I'm crazy. Kiwan studied him for a long moment, then lowered her weapon. Fine, but the Draken stays in a cell until we verify this. They spent 3 days going through the precursor files. Kiwan brought in her best technicians and scientists. Dr. Yoonji Baek, the Resistance's geneticist, nearly fainted when she saw the human DNA blueprints. Daejung. Oh, their best hacker. Confirmed the files were authentic precursor data, impossible to fake. On the 4th day, Kiwan called a meeting in the base's largest chamber. 200 resistance fighters gathered, representing cells across human space. Taemin stood before them with Vex, now freed from her cell, at his side. It's real, Kiwan announced. All of it. The Council has been playing us for centuries. We're not failures. We're not weak. We're weapons they're terrified of. The room erupted in angry shouts. Some wanted immediate war. Others refused to believe it. A man named Bo Young stood up, face red with rage. So what? We're just tools, built by dead aliens to fight their wars? No, Vex spoke up, her voice cutting through the noise. "You were built to have a choice. The precursors could have made you mindless soldiers. Instead, they gave you free will, creativity, compassion. They made you capable of being weapons, but they let you decide what kind of weapons you'd be." "Easy for you to say," someone shouted. "Your people tried to extinct us all." "My people tried to warn the galaxy," Vex shot back, "and the council murdered us for it. They killed my mate, my children, everyone I loved. Don't talk to me about extinction." The room fell silent. Taemin saw the resistance members looking at Vex differently now, not as a monster, but as someone who'd lost everything just like they had. Dr. Yunji approached the front, hands shaking with excitement. "There's more. The dormant genes in human DNA, I think I can activate them. Not all at once, that would kill the subject, but gradually. Enhanced reflexes, faster healing, improved neural processing. We could unlock what the precursors built into us." "How dangerous is it?" Kiwan asked. "Very. Maybe 20% survival rate for the first attempt. But if it works, we'd have proof that humans are more than the council says. We'd have soldiers who could fight enforcers on equal ground." "I'll do it," Taemin said immediately. Everyone stared at him. Vex grabbed his arm. "Taemin, no. You could die. I'm already dying. These cybernetics are killing me slowly. My body's shutting down piece by piece." He looked at Dr. Yunji. "If there's a chance I could be whole again, even for a short time, I'll take it." Kiwan nodded slowly. "If Captain Kang volunteers, I won't stop him. But understand, this is experimental. We have no idea what will happen." The procedure took place in the base's medical bay, such as it was. Dr. Yunji had designed a treatment using precursor data and human medical technology. Nanobots that would enter Taemin's cells and unlock the dormant genetic sequences. Simple in theory, potentially lethal in practice. Taemin lay on the medical bed while Dr. Yunji prepared the injection. Vex stood nearby, her golden eyes worried. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "Yes, I do. If we're going to fight the council, we need every advantage." He smiled at her. "Besides, someone needs to prove your research was right." "My research was about history, not turning people into experiments." Too late now. The injection felt like ice in his veins. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pain started. Taemin's body convulsed as nanobots ripped through his cells, rewriting genetic code that had been locked for thousands of generations. He felt his DNA unwinding, reforming, changing into something the precursors had designed long ago. Memories flooded his mind. Not his memories, genetic memories encoded in human DNA. He saw the precursors, tall beings of light and purpose, working to create a species that could survive what they could not. He felt their hope, their fear, their desperate need for someone to carry on after they were gone. He saw the threat they'd detected, something massive moving through dark space between galaxies, a swarm of world-eaters, drawn by the radiation of living civilizations. The precursors had known they couldn't stop it, so they'd made humanity to finish what they started. The pain crescendoed until Taemin screamed. His cybernetic arm tore free as new flesh grew underneath. His damaged leg restructured itself, bone and muscle knitting in ways that should be impossible. His brain rewired neural pathways, processing information faster than ever before. Then it stopped. Taemin opened his eyes. The medical bay was silent. Dr. Yunji was staring at her monitors in disbelief. His cellular regeneration rate just increased by 300%. Neural synapses are firing 20% faster. His body is rebuilding itself. "How do you feel?" Vex asked softly. Taemin sat up. His body felt strong for the first time in years. The tremors were gone. The pain was gone. He flexed his new arm, completely organic, perfectly functional. "I feel human," he said, "really human." Over the next week, more resistance members volunteered for the treatment. Narration, a young fighter who'd lost her family to council raids. Hyunwoo Park, a pilot with nothing left to lose. Out of 20 volunteers, 4 survived the process. The losses hurt, but those who made it through became something amazing. They could move faster than normal humans. Their wounds healed in hours instead of weeks. They could process tactical situations with incredible speed. They weren't superhumans, not yet. Just humans finally accessing what had always been inside them. But it was enough, the Council noticed. How could they not? 4 enhanced humans destroyed a Council enforcer squad sent to investigate the asteroid base. The footage spread across the underground networks, showing humans doing impossible things, fighting with precision and power that should be beyond their species. Panic rippled through Council space. Emergency sessions were called. If humans could unlock their true potential, everything would change. The carefully maintained balance would shatter. Ki-Wan called another meeting. We have a choice. Hide what we've learned and hope the Council leaves us alone, or go public. Show the galaxy what we really are. They'll come after us with everything they have, Daejung warned. Full military assault. They won't risk humans spreading across the galaxy as we were meant to. Let them come, Taimin said. He stood before the resistance, his enhanced body moving with fluid grace. I'm tired of hiding, tired of pretending we're less than we are. The precursors made us to be defenders. Maybe it's time we defended ourselves. Vex stepped beside him. If you do this, you'll start a war that could destroy the galaxy. The galaxy's already destroying us. At least this way, we fight back. The vote was unanimous. The Resistance would broadcast the precursor files to every system, human and alien alike. They would show the truth about humanity's origins, about the Council's manipulation, about the dormant potential in every human cell. The galaxy would learn what humans really were, and the galaxy would have to decide what to do about it. The broadcast went live on a Tuesday. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds watched as Ki-Wan Han stood before cameras and told them everything. She showed the precursor files, the genetic evidence, the proof of Council manipulation. She showed Taimin and the other enhanced humans, demonstrating abilities that should be impossible. We're not asking for war, Ki-Wan said to the galaxy. We're asking for the truth to be acknowledged. We're asking to be allowed to be what we were made to be. If the Council refuses, if they try to suppress us or destroy us, we will defend ourselves, and we will not lose. The response was immediate. Half the Council species called it human propaganda. A quarter demanded immediate investigation. The rest activated their military fleets and moved them toward human space. Within hours, the Council passed an emergency decree. All human worlds were to be occupied. All human military forces were to surrender. Any resistance would be met with total war. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do. In the Terminus Belt, Taimin stood with Vex and watched the fleet markers appear on the tactical display. Hundreds of ships moving toward Earth, toward the colonies, toward every human settlement. They're really going to try it, he said quietly. They're going to try to enslave us all. We can run, Vex offered. Find a safe place far from here. Taimin shook his head. No more running. The precursors made us to stand against impossible odds. Let's see if they were right. He activated his comm to the entire resistance network. Thousands of fighters across dozens of cells heard his voice. This is Captain Taimin Kang. The Council has declared war on humanity. They think we're weak. They think we'll surrender. They've forgotten what we really are, so let's remind them. Let's show the galaxy that humans don't break. We adapt, we survive, and we never ever give up. The Resistance answered with a roar that echoed through the asteroid base. They were ready. The galaxy wanted war. Humanity would give them one they'd never forget. The colony world of New Sol had 2 million inhabitants and 12 hours to evacuate. The Council Purge fleet hung in orbit like a death sentence, broadcasting their ultimatum on repeat. Surrender all enhanced humans, or the planet would be sterilized. Admiral Sung Ho commanded the fleet personally, his face cold on every screen. "You have brought this on yourselves," his message declared. "Humanity has violated natural law. You must be controlled for the good of the galaxy." Taman watched the broadcast from the Resistance command ship, a converted freighter called the Defiant Hope. His enhanced senses picked up every detail in the Admiral's expression. Fear. The Council was terrified of what humans had become. "We can't evacuate 2 million people in 12 hours, Kiwan said, studying the tactical display. "Even using every transport in the sector." "Then we don't evacuate them," Taman replied. "We stop the fleet." "With what?" "We have 30 ships against 200 Council warships. This isn't a battle, it's suicide." "Maybe." Taman's enhanced mind was already running calculations, seeing patterns others would miss. "But we don't need to win. We just need to make them hesitate long enough to broadcast what they're doing. The Council wants this quiet. Let's make it loud." Vex had been working with Dr. Eun-ji on something she called a neural amplifier, a device that would let enhanced humans interface with ship systems directly, controlling vessels with their minds. It was experimental and dangerous, but everything they did now was dangerous. "I can pilot 4 ships at once with this," Taemin said, strapping the neural interface to his head. "Maybe 5 if I push it." "Or you could die when your brain overloads," Vex argued. "This technology isn't ready. Nothing we have is ready. We're making it up as we go." He looked at her, this friend who'd changed his entire world. "If this goes wrong, make sure people know what the Council did here. Promise me." Vex's golden eyes were bright with unshed tears. Draken could cry, Taemin had learned. They just rarely had reason to. "I promise. But you better not die, human. I didn't come this far to lose you now." The Resistance fleet moved into position. 30 ships against 200. They broadcast their approach on every frequency, making sure the entire galaxy could watch. Daijung had hacked into communication networks across dozens of systems. Billions would see this battle live. "This is Captain Taemin Kang of the Human Resistance," he broadcast. "The Council claims they want peace, but they've sent a fleet to murder 2 million civilians because humanity refuses to be enslaved. Watch what happens next. Remember who started this war." The neural interface activated, and Taemin's consciousness expanded. Suddenly, he wasn't just in one ship, he was in 5. His enhanced brain processed the impossible amount of information, controlling 5 vessels as if they were his own body. He felt their engines, their weapons, their shields. They moved as one, dancing through space with inhuman precision. The Council fleet opened fire. Taemin's ships weaved through energy blasts that should have hit them. His enhanced reflexes predicted targeting solutions before enemy weapons locked on. He returned fire, coordinated strikes that hit weak points in Council ship formations. 3 Council vessels exploded in the first minute. The Admiral's confident face appeared on screens, now uncertain. "What are you doing? How are you doing that?" "We're being what you made us," Taemin replied. "Desperate." The other Resistance ships followed his lead. Enhanced humans piloted with skill beyond normal capabilities. Nari Song flew her fighter through impossible maneuvers, her upgraded neural processing letting her think faster than targeting computers could track. Hyun-Woo Park coordinated bomber runs with perfect timing, his mind calculating trajectories that should require a full crew. But the Council fleet was too large. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more moved in. Taemin felt one of his controlled vessels take critical damage. He had to release it, pulling his consciousness back before the feedback killed him. His nose bled from the strain. "We can't win this," Kiwan said over the comm. "Taemin, we need to retreat." "Not yet. Keep broadcasting." Because that was the real battle. The Council wanted this hidden, but the galaxy was watching. They saw humans fighting with courage and skill. They saw the Purge fleet targeting civilians. Public opinion was shifting across dozens of worlds. Protests erupted on council member planets. Some species called for investigation. Others demanded humanity be given a chance to explain. Then something unexpected happened. 3 council ships broke formation and stopped firing. Their commanders broadcast on open channels. "This is Captain Veltar of the Nuvarian Navy. I will not murder civilians. Any species that fights this hard to protect their own deserves respect, not extinction." 2 more ships joined them. Then 5, then 20. Not all council species believed humanity should be destroyed. Some saw what was happening and refused to participate. Admiral Sung Ho's face appeared, twisted with rage. "All vessels will continue the assault or be marked as traitors." "Then mark us," Captain Veltar replied. "I'd rather be a traitor than a murderer." The council fleet fractured. Roughly a quarter of the ships withdrew or actively opposed the attack. The Purge fleet's formation collapsed into chaos. Taemin seized the opportunity, leading resistance ships in concentrated strikes against command vessels. The Admiral's flagship took heavy damage and retreated to a safe distance. New Sol had been saved, but the cost was high. 15 resistance ships destroyed. Hundreds of fighters dead. Taemin disconnected from the neural interface and collapsed, blood running from his nose and ears. His enhanced body had been pushed to its absolute limit. Vex caught him before he hit the deck. "You magnificent idiot! I told you it was too dangerous." "Did it work?" Taemin asked weakly. "See for yourself." Vex showed him the news feeds. The battle at New Sol was being discussed across the galaxy. The image of humans fighting desperately to protect their people while some council ships refused to fire on civilians had captured hearts and minds. Public sentiment was shifting, but the council leadership doubled down. In an emergency session broadcast galaxy-wide, they declared humanity a threat to galactic stability. All human worlds would be occupied. Any resistance would be crushed. They were sending more fleets, bigger armies. The fractured ships at New Sol were declared rogue elements. The human government in the Terran coalition was pressured to surrender. President Choi went on camera, face grim, and announced that Earth would comply with council demands to prevent bloodshed. But her voice shook, and Taemin knew she didn't believe her own words. Not all humans agreed with surrender. Admiral Young-A Kwan, a high-ranking officer in the Terran Navy, made her own announcement. She was defecting to the Resistance with 3 battle cruisers and their full crews. Thousands of soldiers who believed humanity should fight. "My oath was to protect humanity," she said in her broadcast. "The Council threatens humanity's existence, therefore the Council is my enemy." More defections followed. Ship by ship, unit by unit, humans chose resistance over surrender. The Terran Coalition's military split down the middle. Civil war threatened to tear humanity apart, even as an external war loomed. Kiwan called a war council aboard the Defiant Hope. Resistance leaders from across human space attended via hologram. Admiral Young-A was there bringing professional military expertise. Dr. Yun-Ji reported that more humans were successfully undergoing the enhancement process. They had maybe 2,000 enhanced soldiers now, with more every week. "It's not enough," Young-A said bluntly. "The Council will send 100 fleets if they have to. We can't win through conventional warfare." "Then we don't fight conventionally," Taemin said. He'd recovered from the neural interface strain, his enhanced body healing faster than normal. "We hit supply lines, raid shipyards, make this war too expensive for the Council to maintain. And we find allies." "What allies?" someone asked. "Every species is either with the Council or too afraid to oppose them." Vex spoke up. "Not every species. My people are scattered across the galaxy, hiding in shadows. But we remember how to fight. And we have every reason to hate the Council." "The Draken?" Young-A looked skeptical. "There can't be more than a few thousand left." A few thousand who've survived 500 years of genocide, Vex countered. We know how to hide, how to strike from darkness. Let me reach out to them. If I can prove humans are fighting the Council, they might join us. Over the next month, the war escalated. Tae-min led raids on Council installations, his enhanced abilities making him a legend among resistance fighters. They called him the Ghost of Crimson Nebula, the soldier who'd come back from the dead to haunt the Council's nightmares. Vex found her people. Scattered Draken families emerged from hiding, drawn by her call. They brought ancient ships and older grudges. Vex's own sister, Cormaya, appeared with a small fleet of survivors. The reunion was tearful and brief. There was no time for healing old wounds when new ones were being opened. The turning point came at Titan's Gate, a strategic waypoint controlling access to human core worlds. The Council sent a massive armada to secure it. 200 warships supported by thousands of fighters. If they took Titan's Gate, Earth itself would be vulnerable. The Resistance gathered everything they had. Every ship, every enhanced soldier, every ally they'd made. It still wasn't enough. They were outnumbered 3-1. We can't win this battle, Kiwan said, stating the obvious. Then we win it anyway, Tae-min replied, because if we lose here, humanity loses everything. The Battle of Titan's Gate lasted 18 hours. Tae-min piloted ships with his neural interface while simultaneously coordinating ground forces on the station itself. Enhanced humans fought with strength and speed that shocked Council soldiers. Draken ships appeared from behind asteroids, their ancient weapons still deadly. Admiral Young-A's tactical genius countered the Council's numerical advantage. And the humans used every dirty trick, every desperate gambit, every crazy idea they could think of, because that's what humans did. They adapted, they improvised, they survived. When the dust settled, the Council fleet was retreating. Titan's Gate remained in human hands. The cost was terrible. Thousands dead, dozens of ships destroyed. But humanity had proven something vital. They could fight the Council and win. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The species the Council had dismissed as primitive had defeated a superior force through tactics, courage, and sheer refusal to give up. It was impossible. But humans specialized in doing the impossible. In the aftermath, Tae-min and Vex stood on the damaged bridge of the Defiant Hope, looking at casualty reports. So many dead. So many more would die before this ended. Was it worth it? Vex asked quietly. All this death, this war? Ask me when it's over, Tae-min replied. Then he noticed something on the long-range sensors. A signal from deep space, moving toward the galaxy. The same trajectory the precursor files had warned about. The Devourer swarm was coming. The extinction-level threat that had made the precursors create humanity in the first place. It would reach Council space in less than a year. Everything they'd fought for, everyone who'd died, it would all be meaningless if the swarm arrived and no one was ready. Tae-min looked at Vex, saw the same realization in her eyes. They had to end this war with the Council, because a much worse enemy was coming, and the galaxy needed humanity to be ready to face it. The Devourer swarm consumed 3 star systems before the Council finally acknowledged they existed. Billions died screaming as the World Eaters tore through planets, converting all matter into more of themselves. Automated probes sent back footage before going silent. The swarm was exactly what the precursor files had warned about. An extinction machine with only one purpose: consume. The Council emergency broadcast was almost funny in its desperation. All species must unite against this threat. Previous conflicts are suspended. We need humanity's cooperation. Tae-min watched the broadcast aboard the precursor ship he'd found hidden on Helios Prime. The vessel had bonded with his enhanced DNA, responding to his thoughts like an extension of his body. The precursors had built these ships for humans, waiting thousands of years for their creations to find them. They're terrified. Vex said beside him. Her sister Maya stood nearby, both Draken studying the swarm data with grim expressions. 3 systems in 2 weeks. At this rate, the swarm will reach the Council homeworld in 6 months. Good, Kiwon said coldly. Let them burn for what they did to us. And after the Council burns? Taemin asked quietly. The swarm won't stop. It'll consume human worlds too. Everyone we fought to protect will die. The resistance had fractured over this question. Some wanted revenge against the Council, believing they deserved extinction for their crimes. Others argued humanity should be better than their oppressors. The debate raged across every human settlement. Admiral Young A had the most practical view. We can't let the galaxy die just because we're angry, but we also can't let the Council pretend the past didn't happen. We need terms. Taemin made a decision that many would hate him for. He broadcast a message to the entire galaxy, his face appearing on every screen that could receive it. This is Captain Taemin Kang. The Council knows humanity was created by the precursors to fight extinction-level threats. The Devourer Swarm is that threat. We will help you stop it, but not as slaves. Not as weapons you control, as equals. He laid out humanity's demands: full membership in a new galactic government, the Draken to be officially pardoned and compensated, all manipulation of human history to be publicly acknowledged, war crime trials for Council leaders who'd orchestrated atrocities. Accept these terms or face the swarm alone, Taemin concluded. Humanity will survive either way. We're good at surviving. The question is whether you will. The Council debated for 3 days while another system died. Finally, they accepted. They had no choice. The swarm was coming, and humanity was their only hope. Dr. Yoonji's research had unlocked more human potential. Thousands of volunteers underwent enhancement, their dormant genes activating. They weren't superhumans. Just humans finally becoming what the precursors had designed: faster, stronger, more resilient, able to interface with precursor technology that had waited millennia for them. The precursor fleet emerged from hidden locations across the galaxy, 50 massive warships, each requiring an enhanced human pilot to bond with it. Taemin's ship was the largest, a dreadnought called the Infinity's Edge. It responded to his thoughts, its weapons and shields extensions of his will. But even with precursor ships, even with enhanced humans, the swarm was overwhelming. For every unit they destroyed, 100 more appeared. The enemy didn't use tactics or strategy, they just consumed, spreading like a cancer through space. We're losing, Admiral Youngie said during a strategy meeting. Around her were Council military leaders, human commanders, and representatives from every species willing to fight. The swarm is adapting to our weapons, learning from each engagement. Because it's not mindless, Dr. Yoonji explained. Her research spread across holographic displays. The swarm has a hive intelligence, distributed across billions of individual units, but coordinated. If we could disrupt that coordination, the swarm would become just a collection of dumb machines. How do we disrupt it? Someone asked. Dr. Yoonji hesitated. Theoretically, an enhanced human could interface with the swarm's hive mind through a precursor ship. Use their neural processing to inject false commands, reprogram the base directives. But the human doing it would experience the consciousness of billions of entities simultaneously. Their mind would be torn apart by the feedback. The room fell silent. They all understood what she was really saying. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves, plugging their consciousness into an alien hive mind and reprogramming it from within. They would die, and the death would be unimaginably painful. I'll do it, Taemin said. No, Vex spoke up immediately. There has to be another way. There isn't. You know there isn't. Taemin looked at his friend, this alien being who'd become the most important person in his life. The precursors made humans for this exact purpose, to face impossible threats and find solutions. This is what I was made for. You're not a tool, Vex said, her voice breaking. You're a person. You deserve to live. I've been living on borrowed time since Crimson Nebula. 3 years I should have been dead. 3 years I spent broken and useless. Taemin smiled. You gave me purpose again, Vex. You reminded me what it means to be human. That's worth dying for. The plan was desperate and probably suicidal, which meant it was perfectly human. The combined fleet would push toward the swarm's core concentration, where the hive intelligence was strongest. Taemin would pilot the Infinity's Edge into the center of the swarm and interface directly with their collective consciousness. The Battle of Infinity's Edge began at dawn on what would have been a Tuesday back on Earth. Every functional ship in the galaxy participated. Council vessels that had fought humans months ago now fought beside them. Draken ships flew in formation with species that had hunted them for centuries, former enemies united against extinction. Taemin piloted the Infinity's Edge with 50 other precursor ships providing escort. Enhanced humans pushed their abilities to the limit, coordinating impossible maneuvers. Ki-Wan led fighter squadrons with tactical genius. Narisong and Hyunwoo Park carved paths through swarm units. Admiral Young-yi directed the fleet with precision that saved thousands of lives. Vex and Kormaya flew Draken fighters on Taemin's flanks, protecting him as he pushed deeper into the swarm. Their ancient ships proved surprisingly effective against swarm units, weapons designed by a species that had studied precursor technology for generations. I'm at the threshold, Taemin broadcast. Beginning interface protocol. Taemin, wait! Vex's voice came through his comm, desperate. Once you start, there's no coming back. I know. He could see her ship on his sensors, so close but impossibly far. Thank you for everything, for saving me, for being my friend. Tell the galaxy that Captain Taemin Kang died doing what humans do best, protecting people who can't protect themselves. I will. I promise. Goodbye, my friend. Taemin activated the interface. His consciousness exploded outward, connecting to billions of swarm entities simultaneously. He felt their hunger, mindless and absolute. Felt their programming, simple but effective. Consume, replicate, consume. No thought, no emotion, just endless appetite. The pain was beyond description. His mind touched 1 billion alien thoughts at once, each one screaming its need to feed. Taemin felt himself fragmenting, his personality dissolving into the collective. He was dying, his consciousness scattering across the swarm like water into sand. But humans were stubborn. Even dying, even broken, they refused to quit. Taemin dove deeper into the hive mind, searching for its core programming. The swarm had been created by someone long ago, a cleaning protocol designed to recycle dead civilizations. But something had gone wrong. The off switch had broken. Now it consumed everything, unable to stop. There, buried deep in ancient code, the shutdown command. Taemin reached for it with his fragmenting consciousness. His body was dying aboard the Infinity's Edge, blood running from every orifice as his brain overloaded. But his mind was already somewhere else, spread across the swarm like a ghost. He activated the shutdown sequence, reprogrammed the core directive. Changed consume everything to return to dormancy. The command rippled through the hive mind, transmitted across billions of entities through their quantum entanglement. Across the galaxy, the swarm stopped. Units that had been tearing apart planets suddenly went inactive. The feeding frenzy ended as ancient programming reasserted itself. The swarm began moving away from civilized space, drawn back toward the dark regions between galaxies where they'd originated. Taemin felt his consciousness fading. He was dying, truly dying this time. His body aboard the ship was already gone. Heart stopped. Brain ceased. but something of him remained in the swarm, his thoughts entangled with billions of now dormant machines. His last thought was of Vex, of humanity, of a galaxy that might finally have peace. Then, nothing. The battle ended not with an explosion, but with silence. The swarm units went dark, drifting away like ghosts. The combined fleet watched in stunned disbelief as their extinction suddenly, impossibly, retreated. Vex's ship was first to reach the infinity's edge. She found Taemin's body slumped in the pilot's chair, dead. His face was peaceful. Whatever pain he'd experienced at the end, it was gone now. She held his hand and wept. Draken cried silently, tears sliding down scaled cheeks. The galaxy mourned. Captain Taemin Kang became a legend across 1,000 worlds, the broken soldier who'd saved everyone. Statues were erected, songs were written. His name became synonymous with sacrifice and courage. The council was dissolved. The new Galactic Federation formed, with humanity and Draken as founding members. War crime trials prosecuted those who'd orchestrated genocides and manipulations. It wasn't perfect justice, but it was something. Vex became humanity's ambassador to the new Federation. She spent her remaining years teaching the galaxy about the species who'd saved them, about human resilience, creativity, and stubborn refusal to accept defeat, about Taemin and what he'd represented. 50 years passed. Vex was old now, even by Draken standards. She returned to Helios Prime, to the ruins where she'd first told Taemin the truth about his species. A monument stood there now, a simple stone with his name carved in multiple languages. "I kept my promise," she said to the stone. "The galaxy knows what you did. They remember." Behind her, a young human in military uniform approached. Hansol Kang, Taemin's nephew, now a captain in the Federation Navy. "Aunt Vex, we need to get back to the ship." Aunt Vex. The title made her smile. Hansol's family had adopted her decades ago, making her an honorary human. It was the greatest honor she'd ever received. "One moment," she said. She placed a clawed hand on the monument. "Did I ever tell you about your uncle? The real story, not the legend?" "Many times, but I'd like to hear it again." So Vex told him. About a broken soldier who'd saved a despised alien. About two beings who'd found friendship in the darkest times. About sacrifice and courage and what it truly meant to be human. As she spoke, Dr. Sunmi Choi's research team worked in a distant laboratory. They'd been analyzing deep space signals for years and recently had detected something impossible. Quantum echoes matching Taemin's neural signature, dispersed across space but coordinated, like a consciousness existed in a way they were only beginning to understand. Maybe death wasn't the end after all. Maybe Taemin existed somewhere in the spaces between, his mind entangled with machines floating in the dark. Maybe one day they'd find a way to bring him back. But that was a story for another time. For now, the galaxy was at peace. Humanity had taken its place as defender, not conqueror. The Draken were rebuilding. Species that had been enemies learned to work together. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still injustices, but they were trying, all of them, to build something better. And in the end, that's what being human meant. Not being perfect, not being the strongest or the smartest, just refusing to give up, even when the odds were impossible. Finding hope in the darkest places, choosing to save others, even at terrible cost to yourself. A broken soldier and a despised alien dragon had changed the galaxy. They'd revealed a secret that shook civilizations to their core. And in doing so, they'd proven that sometimes the greatest weapons aren't weapons at all. They're people who care enough to fight for something bigger than themselves. That was humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not strength or technology or tactical genius, just the stubborn, unreasonable, beautiful belief that things could be better. that people were worth saving, that even in the darkest hour, there was always hope. Vex looked up at the purple sky of Helios Prime, remembering a desperate escape and a revelation that changed everything. She smiled, tears on her scales. "Thank you, Taman," she whispered, "for everything." And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, something that might have been consciousness stirred. A fragment of a soldier who'd given everything. Watching over the galaxy he'd died to save, still protecting, still human, still refusing to quit. Forever.